Soon after I can't even believe I have to say this, nearly assassinated in Pennsylvania last month, Bobby called me to express his best wishes. He knows firsthand the risks incurred by leaders who stand up to the corrupt political establishment. When you stand up, you bring on some trouble for yourself, but you have to do what's right. You have to do what's right for the country. I will tell you, we are both in this to do what's right for the country. That's one thing I can tell you. He lost his father and uncle in service to our country, and Bobby himself was subject to repeated threats to his safety during the course of his campaign while being denied protection by the Harris-Biden administration. And this is a tribute in honor of Bobby. I am announcing tonight that upon my election, I will establish a new independent presidential commission on assassination attempts. And they will be tasked with releasing all of the remaining documents pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. And they will also conduct a rigorous review of the attack last month.
For decades, Americans were lied to about their health.
Get Kellogg's new Sugar Smacks.
Behind closed doors, special interests thrive,
It's a better cigarette.
while the health of our nation collapsed.
There is grim news today about the state of America's health.
76.4% of Americans now have a chronic disease.
Rates of obesity have continued to rise over the last few decades.
8 out of 10 of our kids cannot qualify for military service. This is a national security issue.
A new study shows thyroid cancer and kidney cancer are on the rise among American children.
When my uncle was president, we spent zero on chronic disease. Today, we spend $1.3 trillion.
Autism rates have hit a record high, according to new CDC data released this week.
Chronic disease ran rampant. Our children's health was put at risk, and Washington stood by and watched.
Senator, you presided here, I think, for 32 years. You presided over the destruction of the health of the American people.
Well,
Our people are now the sickest people in the world.
Seriously.
Because you have not done your job.
But the American people demanded change. They voted to take back their health.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., we're joining forces to defeat government corruption, restore free speech, and make America healthy again. We're going to make America healthy again, you know?
Under President Trump and Secretary Kennedy's leadership, the movement to make America healthy again has begun and made historic progress. At the Department of Health and Human Services, the greatest minds have come together to end regulatory capture and fix what Washington broke, but most importantly, to end the chronic disease epidemic. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya at NIH, Dr. Marty McCary at FDA, Dr. Mehmet Oz at CMS, and Secretary Kennedy leading the charge at HHS. Together, this all-star team is rebuilding America's health with historic wins. We're stopping the use of taxpayer dollars to buy junk food that makes Americans sick. Nearly 100 MAHA bills have been passed in states across the country. We're ending the loophole that lets untested chemicals sneak into your food. We're restoring mothers' trust by removing heavy metals from baby formula. We're bringing honesty back to vaccine safety. No politics, no profits, no mandates, just transparency, informed patient consent, and real gold standard science. We're investigating the root causes of autism, delivering answers to the families the government has long avoided. We're rewriting America's dietary guidelines to put health, not industry, first. We're cleaning up America's food. No more toxic dyes, only safe, natural ingredients. We're restoring honesty in drug ads so Americans get facts, not Big Pharma's deceptive spin. We launched a new transparency tool to restore integrity and trust back to the organ procurement and transplantation network. Under President Trump's direction, we're using data and AI to fast-track diagnostics, treatments, and cures for pediatric cancer, because every child deserves a chance to grow up. MAHA isn't about party lines and politics. It's about the health of our nation, our children, and our future. So join us. Take back your health, and together, we can make America healthy again.
The story of Kennedy and Trump has changed the course of history forever. August 23, 2024 will forever be known as the day we turned the corner and took back our great nation and changed the course of history and brought hope to a free world. Join me as we relive the strange relationship between Kennedy and Trump leading to their return to the White House to make America healthy and great again. I spent 2 years following the Kennedy and Trump campaigns. Long before the two men ever considered running for president, Kennedy sued Trump and stopped him from building a golf course near the Hudson River. After Trump won the presidency in 2016, he recruited Kennedy to look into vaccine safety issues. Kennedy was forced out the door after clashing with a man by the name of Anthony Fauci. But the assassination attempt on President Trump's life brought Kennedy and Trump closer than ever. From rivals to collaborators, from foes to friends, this is the story of Kennedy and Trump. You can download the book for free right now by going to kennedy&trump.com. That's kennedy&trump.com. My name is Greg Fernandez Jr. God bless you all.
My first job was working in the Washington Zoo. I was working in the reptile house, and I was feeding the reptiles, cleaning the cages, cleaning the glass with a squeegee, and cleaning the guardrails with brass polisher. I learned that the little things count, that whatever you do, you should apply all of your talents and all of your energy to trying to do it well.
The story of Kennedy and Trump has changed the course of history forever. August 23, 2024 will forever be known as the day we turned the corner and took back our great nation and changed the course of history and brought hope to a free world. Join me as we relive the strange relationship between Kennedy and Trump leading to their return to the White House to make America healthy and great again. I spent 2 years following the Kennedy and Trump campaigns. Long before the two men ever considered running for president, Kennedy sued Trump and stopped him from building a golf course near the Hudson River. After Trump won the presidency in 2016, he recruited Kennedy to look into vaccine safety issues. Kennedy was forced out the door after clashing with a man by the name of Anthony Fauci. But the assassination attempt on President Trump's life brought Kennedy and Trump closer than ever. From rivals to collaborators, from foes to friends, this is the story of Kennedy and Trump. You can download the book for free right now by going to kennedy&trump.com. That's kennedy&trump.com. My name is Greg Fernandez Jr. God bless you all.
Talk to me just a little bit about Charlie's influence and actually politically getting you to be the H&HS secretary, because I remember he was such a strong advocate for you. He was so proud of the president and of you when the president nominated you. Obviously, like all of our big nominees, there was a tough confirmation fight. Just give us 50 seconds on how important he was to making you have the position and the title you have right now.
Well, you know what the transition's like. You never kind of know what's going to happen. And he was a critical ally for me in calling President Trump. And at first, when President Trump asked me whether I wanted this job, I was tentative. I didn't know whether I wanted to handle the Medicaid and Medicare portion, which is the biggest, economic behemoth.
Sure.
And he really persuaded me that I should do it. And then he helped me not only making calls to the president himself, but telling me people that I should call. Operating strategically, but
he was strategically brilliant, and he was a good political operator in a way that I think so many people don't realize.
Yeah, he was. He was an impresario strategist, And he knew exactly, he did the same thing with Amaryllis. He told her, make this phone call, make this phone call, make this one first, this one second.
Yep.
And he knew exactly, you know, he understood the use of power. And he understood what buttons needed to be pushed to move the ball across the goal line. When I think about my father and my uncle, I think that it wasn't their death so much that affected me, but their lives, their approach to life, and their, you know, and I've spent a lot of my life not only with them, but then reading all the literature on them. I'm probably the only person in my family that's done that, and, you know, and written histories about it, and sort of dissected their views on various issues, and that's affected me tremendously. In terms of the trauma, you know, it's hard for me to just think, well, I was a drug addict for 14 years, and my addiction started right after my dad's death. But in my construction of events, I don't blame my father's death on my addiction. I feel like I was born like that I was born with an empty hole inside of me, and that I was looking for ways to fill it, you know, things outside of me to fill it, and that's what addicts do. And
do other people in your life feel that way? Because you, again, we don't know, but you could imagine a friend or a partner or a doctor saying if the events occurred right after, they might see the link.
Well, of course, and I have no way of really of making that determination. So, you know, I spend a lot of time in self-examination. I've been in recovery for 40 years. I go to meetings every day, and that's a process of constant self-examination. So, you know, in my kind of, I've come down on the side that, you know, that trauma clearly affects things about, I'm sure, how I process the world. But I don't, looking back on that does not help me in terms of, you know, how do I negotiate what I need to do today? And I think when you know, the parts of my life that are most influential in determining how I behave on a day-to-day basis, how I get out of, you know, bed in the morning, make my bed, and, you know, go about, be kind to people, and be judicious, and be, you know, the way that I approach the world, I think is much more influenced by the role model that my father gave me, the role model that my uncle gave me, rather than the way they died. So I think, you know, the answer to your question is I don't really know how that trauma impacted me. I can't really separate that from, you know, many other traumas I've had, and we all have, you know, everybody has trauma. But I do know that my uncle and my father's lives, the way they lived them, the choices they made, the moral center that they had, has affected me profoundly.
You just did a sting and had an announcement with A.G. Bondi recently. Would you like to talk about vaping generally and your concerns with that?
I was in Illinois yesterday in one of the Chicago suburbs, and we did a raid on a distributor we've been setting up. We've done a series of sting operations, including in Florida, many of the cities in Florida, between August 1st, August 14th, with FDA going into the distributors and ATF simultaneously going into the retails, making purchases. And then, you know, we set up this raid that we did yesterday. We confiscated 50 truckloads, millions of dollars worth of vapes, hundreds of thousands of items. The country was flooded by Chinese vapes, and the Chinese vapes are directed toward children. A lot of them include video games in the vape. They are vivid colors, they're candy flavored, and they're directed toward kids. In China, you go to prison if you sell one of these vapes in China. So they're making them all over there, and then they're dumping them on our country, something that they consider too toxic to give to their kids. Kids are showing up at the hospital with nicotine poisoning. A lot of the vapes, Chinese vapes, contain all of these kind of contaminants. We don't even know what's in them, of course, because we haven't approved them. There's now 9,000 brands being sold in America. Only 27 have been approved by the FDA. They contain formaldehyde. A lot of them contain THC, so they're, you know, putting you on that runway towards addiction. And, you know, we're scared at some point they'll begin adding fentanyl or other stuff, but we have no idea what's in them. And by the way, there's vape shops now sprouting up everywhere, and they sprout up particularly near elementary schools, near high schools, near military reservations, and they're all selling these Chinese vapes. And the Chinese are getting richer while we're getting sicker. One of my little brothers, David, was killed. I was with his body, alone with my mother, and I said to her, does the hole that they leave in you when one of your loved ones dies, does it ever get any smaller? And she said to me, it never gets smaller, but our job is to grow ourselves bigger around the hole. And we do that by taking the best virtues and the most admirable character traits from the person that we lost and trying to integrate them into our own lives. And doing that, we provide them with a kind of immortality because they're living in us their best virtues. But also we make ourselves into bigger persons, and the whole gets proportionally smaller. Charlie was a target-rich environment for virtue and for character traits. His devotion, his piety, his devotion to God, his devotion to this country, his affection for this country, his devotion for the Constitution. And, I think he left us all with kind of a directive that we need to amplify that now that he's gone so that he doesn't really leave us. But his legacy is our efforts.
I drove to the airport at 6:30 this morning and went across the bridge over the Potomac and saw the the recovery operation kind of underway in daylight hours. And I thought about the last big aviation disaster in Richmond when on 9/11 a plane slammed into the Pentagon. And Virginia got hurt very bad that day, and so did the nation. Just a couple of months ago, you posted this on your X account. On 9/11, it's hard to tell what is conspiracy theory and what isn't. I'd like to introduce that for the record, Mr. Chair. We take that kind of stuff pretty personally. Virginians know what happened on 9/11. We don't need folks giving oxygen to conspiracy theories about 9/11. Now, one thing I noticed about this post is it was in July of 2024. It was 23 years after 9/11. You had a lot going on in your life. You were running for president then. What made you decide in the midst of everything going on in this country, in this world in July of 2024 in your own candidacy for president, that now was the time to say it's hard to tell what is conspiracy and what isn't about 9/11? What was so important about making this point in July of 2024?
Senator, the dramatic drop in trust in our government, and this is particularly one of the templates of that is what happened at CDC.
Yeah, no, I want to move aside from that. Because you say, you go on to say, I won't take sides. As president, I won't take sides on 9/11. Wow. I won't take sides on 9/11. Let me ask you this. As a general matter, do you find it hard to tell what is a conspiracy theory and what isn't? Is that kind of a general deficit that you find in your own analytical abilities?
My father told me when I was 13 years old, he said, people in authority lie, and that the job of a citizen in every democracy is to maintain a fierce skepticism
Okay, I get it.
of government authority.
And you're an authority, but you wouldn't take sides on 9/11, and you're admitting, I have a hard time telling what is a conspiracy theory and what isn't.
Senator, I haven't investigated it. If the things that I investigate, I take sides on, people are allowed to hold that opinion. I'm not going to tell them they're crazy for holding that opinion. I'm going to say, what is your evidence? And if I hear the evidence, I'm going to say, that doesn't make any sense.
So you won't take sides on 9/11. Wow.
So he was a pragmatist, but he was also one of the most idealistic people that I've ever met.
He was.
And his principal preoccupation was with conversation. He thought conversation was the only thing that could heal our country. We have all these forces, and particularly the algorithms now in social media, that are driving us apart. And it's inexorable. There seems to be nothing that could stop it. And he understood that the only thing that could bridge that gap was debate, was open debate, and that censorship was the enemy of that. And that in order to have real conversations, we had to end the vitriol. We had to stop being poisonous toward each other. We need to say what we mean without saying it mean.
Yes.
And he was just amazingly, he was so respectful of the people who disagreed with him. He gave them the most respect and the greatest hearing. He wanted their voice to be heard. I saw on, one of the networks just now that there's this big revolt against social media because of their contribution to the polarization that ultimately led to his death, this brewing up of hatred. Ironically, I think Charlie would revolt against that.
Yes.
Because he hated censorship.
Yes.
What he said is the answer is conversation and dialogue, and we need to learn to do that if our democracy is going to survive. If we're going to survive, we need to talk to each other, even though all these things are telling us not to.
Ouija.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
I have your statement about the new Epstein emails that have been released by House Democrats. Separate from why you believe the emails were made public, can you address their substance? Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her. And so I think it's a question worth asking the Democrat Party, and you should all go ask them after this briefing, of why they chose to redact that name of a victim who has already publicly made statements about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and is unfortunately no longer with us. Mary.
Thank you, Galen. 2 questions on this. In the interest of transparency, why not just go ahead, release the full files on Epstein, get this all over with?
This administration has done more with respect to transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein than any administration ever. In fact, this administration, the Department of Justice, has turned over tens of thousands of documents to the American people. We are cooperating and showing support for the House Oversight Committee. That's part of the reason you are seeing these documents that were released today, because of the House Oversight Committee's and Republicans' efforts to get these out to the public. This administration also moved, the Department of Justice also moved to unseal grand jury testimony, which we know, unfortunately, a judge declined those requests. So this administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party. For now they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown. And this entire thing, again, it's not a coincidence to the American people at home. There are no coincidences in Washington, D.C. And it is not a coincidence that the Democrats leaked these emails to the fake news this morning ahead of Republicans reopening the government. This is another distraction campaign by the Democrat and the liberal media, and it's why I'm being asked questions about Epstein instead of the government reopening because of Republicans and President Trump.
But given your
Reagan.
interest in transparency, Caroline, why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show the level of transparency when we are willing to sit down with members of Congress and address their concerns? That's a defining factor of transparency, having discussions with members of Congress about various issues. And I'm not going to detail conversations that took place in the Situation Room in the press briefing room.
Please welcome to the stage Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
Charlie's overarching passion was his Christianity and his devotion to his God. He believed what St. Francis taught us almost 1,000 years ago, that we should strive to live our lives in perfect imitation of Christ. That we should turn every day and every moment and every interaction into a prayer. And Charlie understood the great paradox that it's only by surrender to God that God's power can flow into our lives and make us effective human beings. Christ died at 33 years old, but he changed the trajectory of history. Charlie died at 31 years old. Because he had surrendered, he also now has changed the trajectory of history. Charlie's other passion was free speech. He understood that the free flow of information was the soil, the water, the sunlight for democracy. He understood democracy's great advantage was that our policies were formed by ideas that had triumphed in a marketplace of debate and conversation. He thought that conversation was the only way to heal our country. And this was particularly important during a technological age when we are all hooked into social algorithms that are hacked into the reptilian cores of our brain and amplify our impulses for tribalism and for division. He felt that the only way to overcome that biological impulse was with a spiritual fire and with developing community, and the only way to develop community was through conversation. And so he always gave the biggest microphone to the people who were most passionately aligned against him, because he believed that we need to talk to each other and that we needed to be able to say what we mean without saying it mean. A few years ago, my brother David died, and I asked my mother, does the hole that they leave in you when they die, does it ever get any smaller? And she said to me, it never gets any smaller. But our job is to grow ourselves bigger around the hole. And we do that by taking the best qualities, the best, most admirable character traits of the person that died, and integrate them with restraint, with discipline, with practice into our own character. And in doing that, we make ourselves larger and the whole gets proportionally smaller. We also give a kind of immortality to the person who left us, because their work continues through us. A couple of days ago, my granddaughter left for college in Europe. Her mother noticed that she packed a Bible. When her mother asked her why she made that choice, she said, I want to live more like Charlie. And it's... In one of my first conversations with Charlie in July of 2021, we were talking about the risks that all of us take when we challenge entrenched interest, the physical risk. And he asked me if I was scared of dying. And I said to him, there's a lot worse things than death. And one of those things is if we lost our constitutional rights in this country and that our children were raised as slaves. And I said to Charlie, I said, sometimes the best consolation we can hope for is that we get to die with our boots on. Well, Charlie died with his boots on, and he died to make sure that we didn't have to undergo those fates that are worse than death. Oh, let's remember Charlie. He was, for those of us who were friends with Charlie, we don't need any more evidence of the love of God, because the evidence, the friendship is the best evidence that God loves us all. Thank you, and God bless you. Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., and I send my greetings to all the distinguished delegates at the Mnemonic Convention. I had hoped to be with you today, but the government shutdown means that I couldn't do that. The Mnemonic Convention was born from a shared moral conviction that no human being should suffer from exposure to mercury. You came together to protect future generations from this potent neurotoxin, and I'm looking forward to continued progress. Article 4 of the convention calls on parties to cut mercury use by phasing out listed mercury-added products. But in 2010, as the treaty took shape, negotiators made a major exception. Thimerosal-containing vaccines were carved out of the regulation. The same treaty that began to phase out mercury in lamps and cosmetics chose to leave it in products injected into babies, pregnant women, and the most vulnerable among us. We have to ask why. Why do we hold a double standard for mercury? Why do we call it dangerous in batteries, in over-the-counter medications and makeup, but acceptable in vaccines and dental fillings? Thimerosal is a mercury-based preservative that has never undergone proper safety testing in humans. Hundreds of peer-reviewed studies identify it as a potent neurotoxin, a mutagen, a carcinogen, and an endocrine disruptor. Thimerosal's own label requires it to be treated as hazardous material and warns against ingestion. There is not a single study that proves it safe. That's why in July of this year, the United States closed the final chapter on the use of thimerosal as a vaccine preservative, something that should have happened years ago. I want to be clear, it's inexcusable that governments around the world still allow mercury-based compounds in healthcare when safe alternatives exist. Now that America has removed mercury from all vaccines, I call on every global health authority and every party to this convention to do the same. Manufacturers have confirmed that they can produce mercury-free, single-dose vaccines without interrupting supply. There is no excuse for inaction or holding stubbornly to the status quo. Let's honor and protect humanity and our children and creation from mercury, and let's act in the true spirit of the Mnemonic Convention, the integrity of this historic treaty, and to ensure that no child anywhere in the world is ever exposed to this deadly neurotoxin again. Thank you.
The story of Kennedy and Trump has changed the course of history forever. August 23, 2024 will forever be known as the day we turned the corner and took back our great nation and changed the course of history and brought hope to a free world. Join me as we relive the strange relationship between Kennedy and Trump, leading to their return to the White House to make America healthy and great again. I spent 2 years following the Kennedy and Trump campaigns. Long before the two men ever considered running for president, Kennedy sued Trump and stopped him from building a golf course near the Hudson River. After Trump won the presidency in 2016, he recruited Kennedy to look into vaccine safety issues. Kennedy was forced out the door after clashing with a man by the name of Anthony Fauci. But the assassination attempt on President Trump's life brought Kennedy and Trump closer than ever. From rivals to collaborators, from foes to friends, this is a story of Kennedy and Trump. You can download the book for free right now by going to kennedy&trump.com. That's kennedy&trump.com. My name is Greg Fernandez Jr. God bless you all.
One of the interesting things about working with this president is that, we're coming into these bureaucracies that have constructed these orthodoxies, and it's just a series of very narrow Overton windows that You're not allowed to bring the conversation out of that, or you get destroyed.
That's right.
And now we're working for a president who just takes a bulldozer to Overton windows and does that shocks us every day, and then we go, okay, well.
That's exactly right. That is a good summary of Donald J. Trump, is that he takes a bulldozer to Overton windows every single day. But it had to happen. It just had to happen. And if you look at so many of the things that are happening on the public health side, I mean, one of the criticisms that Bobby will always get, and I always think it's such bullshit, excuse my language, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that. It's probably covering, I apologize to everybody who's watching live on Fox News. Hopefully they were able to bleep that out. But anyway, is sometimes there's this attack where people say, well, this or that conclusion is not supported by the science, or this or that conclusion is a conspiracy theory. And science, as practiced in its best form, is that if you disagree with it, then you ought to criticize it, and you ought to argue it against it, but you can't shut down the debate. And that really is, if you look at all of the big public health debates that we've had in this country over the last 20 or 30 years, it doesn't bother me that they disagreed with something that I believed or disagreed with something you believed or any of you. It's that they tried to silence the people who were saying things that were outside the Overton window. And as we found out the hard way over the last few years, it was very often the people who were outside the Overton window who were actually right, and all the experts were wrong.
Yeah. The job of the vice president has been called the worst job in the country. And I think
we're out of time, ladies and gentlemen.
I think for some vice presidents that's been true. And I know that President Johnson, during my uncle's tenure, felt that he'd been sidelined. And I think Spiro Agnew and Gerald Ford felt the same way with Nixon. But then you had presidents like, you had Vice President like Dick Cheney, who seemed to be actually running the country. And then you had these, relationships with...
Not very well, it turns out.
Yeah, we agree on that. But Al Gore and Bill Clinton and Mondale and Carter, who had close personal friendships, you have an amazing job because you have a president who clearly puts tremendous faith in you. He relies on you. He's given you an extraordinary retinue of responsibilities. Talk a little bit about how your relationship with the president has evolved.
Yeah, that's a great question.
And it's clear to all of us in the cabinet how much affection that he has for you and how much he relies on your wisdom.
Well, it's interesting. You're exactly right that the job of vice president is incredibly contingent on the president that you're serving under. And you could have a president who effectively just passes off big swaths of responsibility. You could have a president who delegates. You could have a president who has no trust in their vice president, Kamala Harris. And so it doesn't go very well for that particular vice president. But I think there are two ways that I try to think about my job with the President of the United States. Number one, he requires honest counsel. In other words, if I have an opinion on something, whether I agree or disagree with the administration position, it's really, really important that I talk to the president about it. He doesn't want yes men. And I think that's one of the reasons why you guys have a great relationship, is because you're always thinking about how can I actually give the president the best counsel. But then the second thing is, when the president makes a decision, your job is to execute. It's not to run to the papers and say, well, actually, I disagreed with this decision, or run to the Congress and badmouth the administration. It's to execute. And I think the reason why the president has trust in me is because, yes, I absolutely tell the president what I think about a given issue, but I also recognize I'm the vice president, he's the president, and when the president of the United States makes a decision, it's time to go and get it done. And I think in part because I get things done, right? I mean, sometimes Congress doesn't cooperate. Sometimes the private sector doesn't cooperate. Like, I'm not saying any of us have a batting average of 100, but what I think all of us who have earned the president's trust do is that when the administration makes a decision, when he makes a decision, we actually go out and get it done. And that's why this job has been so empowering for me, is because the president trusts me. He knows I'm going to give him honest counsel. He knows that if he asks me to go get something done, I'm going to try my best to actually go and do it. And that's why we have a good partnership. I think that's why the administration has been so effective this time around, is because there are a lot of people with a very wide diversity of opinions, but we get out there and we try to do the best job for the American people and the President of the United States. And because of that, there's a lot of trust and there's a lot of affection in the cabinet. I mean, you've seen this, I've seen this, but when we're sitting in there and the cameras are off, and we're just talking about an issue, there is a deep level of affection and trust between all the senior members of the team. I don't know how it's possible to do this job without it, but I know it's why we've been so successful the past 10 months.
My friends keep telling me to lead this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business.
Hi, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary, and I'm joined today with my colleague Brooke Rollins, who's the USDA Secretary. Thanks to President Trump's Make America Healthy Again agenda, we are finding solutions across the government to reverse the childhood chronic disease epidemic. Thank you very much. Today we released our Make Our Children Healthy Again strategy, the most significant reform agenda to our food and healthcare policies in modern history. The Commission's message is clear. We cannot reverse the chronic disease epidemic without making whole food and the success of the American farmer a national priority. Right now, America spends more on healthcare than any other country, mostly treating chronic conditions, many of which are preventable and reversible with whole, healthy food. But our system recommends and subsidizes processed food for children, soldiers, and seniors. Then it pays for that mistake with skyrocketing Medicaid and Medicare costs. The result, pharmaceutical and insurance companies grow rich while farmers suffer in difficult farm economy. We have to support our soil, we must support our farmers, and we must challenge the interests that profit from kids getting sick. This administration is leading a long-term conversation to change how America approaches food and health, and we're delivering results across our government. Our reforms include removing harmful chemicals from food, defining ultra-processed food and labeling food clearly, requiring nutrition and metabolic health courses in medical schools, closing the GRAS loophole and raising infant formula standards, improving food for our military, our veterans, schools, and hospitals, updating water quality standards, including PFASs, reforming Medicaid quality metrics to measure real health improvement through fitness indicators and nutrition coaching. We're also reforming NIH and other research agencies to tackle how food impacts the root causes of chronic disease. Our priorities include nutrition and metabolic health, food quality, gut microbiome, precision agriculture, and soil health. And this year, HHS and USDA will release nutrition guidelines that end corporate capture and put whole food at the center of Make America Healthy Again. This historic effort would not be possible without the leadership of Secretary Brooke Rollins at USDA.
Oh, thank you, Secretary Kennedy. A central focus of the report that was just released is working with our farmers. The innovation happening across America's heartland is the key to healthier food and healthier soil. We are streamlining organic certification, we are cutting bureaucratic barriers to direct-to-consumer sales, and we are improving farm-to-school grants so local producers can connect directly with our schools. The Department of Agriculture will empower farmers to keep working lands profitable and productive, and we will provide growers with new tools to maintain and improve soil health, including practices that increase soil organic matter and improve soil composition. We are using gold standard science for every regulatory decision and updating outdated methods. And we are ensuring government programs finally recommend and incentivize whole food, starting with our work with states to remove soda and candy from SNAP. And I look forward to working with grocers to develop sustainable, accountable, and measurable incentive programs that emphasize fruit and vegetable consumption.
A cultural awakening is happening across America. Parents are reading food labels more closely. Moms are demanding whole food in schools. Patients are asking doctors about the root causes of their chronic diseases. And we are realizing the deep connection between our health, our food, and our soil. With this awakening and the historic reforms the Trump administration is delivering, we can reverse the childhood chronic disease crisis. Together, we will make our children healthy again.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And that means a lot of good things. Factories are being built right now as we speak all over the country, and it's really exciting to see. So I think we're going to do well. You saw 4.3, they were predicting 1.9, 4.3. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. We gave the military, the entire military, $1,776. $1,776, that's not bad. We're extremely happy. But we're doing great as a country. We're back, we're strong. I didn't think it could happen this fast. It's happening a lot faster than anybody would have thought possible. We have a lot of leaders here, great leaders like Tom Emmer. I watch him on television. He was talking about Somalia today. Where's Tom? He was talking about the Somalian population, and not very nicely. He was not nice. But that's okay. He doesn't mind. Where's Tom? He's great. What a great leader he is. We need you in Minnesota. We need you in Minnesota. He's actually in Washington. Big, powerful congressman. But you did a great job today, Tom. Thank you very much. We all appreciate it because we want to take back our country. Can you imagine? They stole $18 billion. That's just what we're learning about. That's peanuts. In California is worse. Illinois is worse. And sadly, New York is worse. A lot of other places. So we're going to get to the bottom of all of it. It was a giant scam. Other than that, we're going to have a great New Year. Actually, I view that as a reason for a good New Year because we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to get that money back. It's all coming back. So I want to just do something very special. This is very different. There's a young lady named Vanessa, who's one of the greatest artists anywhere in the world. To me, she is one of the greatest. In fact, she did something last night that was incredible. She can paint slowly a beautiful portrait for the White House, or she can paint the most incredible painting in literally 10 minutes. And she's a speed painter, and she's a great painter. But I think she's one of the great living artists. And I said, do you think you'd be able to stay and interrupt the music for a couple of minutes and show them something special and draw something really special? I don't know what it is, but draw something really special. And if it's really good, what I thought I'd do is come back up and I'll auction it off. And I'll start with a certain number. But we have money in this room. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So we'll maybe auction it off afterwards. But I think you're not going to really believe what you're going to see because I've never seen anything like it. So if you could just pay a little attention, because it's very different. It's entertainment, but really what it is art. She's one of the greatest artists anywhere in the world. Vanessa, would you please come up? Thank you. Vanessa, thank you.
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary. I'm here with CMS Administrator Dr. Oz. Rural America is in crisis. Chronic disease rates are higher in rural communities than in our cities, yet rural health care is collapsing. Since 2010, 150 rural hospitals have shut their doors. Fewer than 4 in 10 rural hospital beds are filled at half the rate of urban areas. The human cost is devastating. Families drive hours for care. Communities lose their hospitals, their lifelines, and their economies. The old Washington approach was to throw money at failing systems, patching holes without fixing the foundation. That failed, and rural America paid the price. President Trump is changing all that. In the One Big Beautiful Bill, Congress created a Rural Health Transformation Program. This is a bold new approach, $50 billion across all 50 states, to rebuild rural health care from the ground up. And today we're announcing the process by which states can apply for those funds.
The program tackles the root causes of rural healthcare failure. It gives states the tools to design solutions that last, not Band-Aids that fail. At the National Governors Association meeting, we previewed the principles. The message was clear. This is not about sustaining failure. It's about building success. We recommend states consider 5 powerful models. Here they are. First, prevention. MAHA. Chronic disease drives more than half of our nation's healthcare costs. If we're serious about making rural America healthy again, then nutrition and physical activity and prevention must be priorities. Second big area, sustainable access. Rural providers can join forces. They can share resources. They can build innovative operating models that actually serve their communities. Third big bucket, workforce, people. Rural health depends on people. States can recruit and retain professionals by letting pharmacists and nurse practitioners expand their roles. And by streamlining licensing across state lines, all this becomes feasible. And without it, shortages are going to continue to choke rural health care. Fourth, innovative care models. They work. We can give doctors and hospitals stable cash flow while rewarding them for keeping people healthy, not just treating them when they get sick. That aligns resources with prevention and better outcomes. And finally, technology. Paint this, a picture a patient checking symptoms on an iPhone instead of driving 35 miles to the nearest doctor. Picture an AI-powered system replacing stacks of paperwork, cutting administrative work in half so providers can focus on patients.
This is a structural shift, not just another temporary patch. By early next year, states will begin using these funds to put real solutions in place. Rural communities are the foundation of American exceptionalism. They have waited too long for Washington to act, and now, at last, we are acting. We encourage governors to submit bold, audacious proposal ideas as strong as the people they serve. Together, we will build a rural health system that works, strong, sustainable, centered on patients, and we will make rural America healthy again. Rural America deserves a healthcare system built for rural reality, not an afterthought of urban leftovers. Right now, only 7% of Medicaid hospital spending reaches rural hospitals. That's got to change. The Rural Health Transformation Program is that change.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Here we go. Is that amazing? Is that amazing? Great job. I don't know how you do that. It's 10 minutes. She's got portraits of me in the White House, and they're the best. I've replaced a lot of people with those portraits. I've had the greatest painters. You know, the White House recommends a list of 10 painters, and honestly, we use them. But this is the one that did the best painting, so I tell you that because these people are loaded with cash, just so you know. If you want to get a portrait, I would call Vanessa. So I'm going to start off. You know what we'll do? Eric Trump, you have a favorite charity? Yes. What would you like to give it to? So we're going to do on behalf of Eric Trump. Don, do you have a favorite charity? He's with Eric. Well, he's always been, they've been good. That was a smart thing. That's good. St. Jude's is great. And we'll do also half to the Sheriff's Department. Is that okay? So we're going to auction it off. And I'll start at $100,000, okay? And honestly, just, you know, if you want, but I actually think it's worth much more than that. And she's the hottest. How much? Who is that? Oh, Anthony. The man started off with one truck, He ended up selling his company for $4 billion. He had 5,000 trucks. How long did it take you to make $4 billion, Anthony? About 50 years? So 250,000 is made a statement. That's right. Anthony, we love you. How much? 300,000. Thank you very much. 500,000. Oh, you're a good artist. 500,000. Hussein. What? 550. Hussein. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're good.
650. Thank you very much. Mr. Wernine. What? 1 million. Whoa. He's the biggest guy on Wall Street, so it's peanuts. He's the biggest guy on Wall Street. Don't let that red hat fool you. He wears that so that he sort of takes people by surprise before he plucks the money out of their wallets, right? So anyway, thank you very much. 1 million. 2 million? 2 million. Whoa. 2 million. 2 million. Wow. You see what I mean? Did I tell you these people? And yet that's peanuts. Anybody, I'll sign it if you'll give more. Okay. Are there any other bids? Any other bids? Yes, ma'am. 2 million? 2 million 5. 2 million 5? 5 million. 5 million or 2 million 5? 2 million 5. That's it. That's her husband looked at her and said, "What the hell is that all about?" 5 million. Eddie, we have 2 million 5. 2 million 5. Anybody upping it? You see what happens here, John? How about that for entertainment? How is that as entertainment? We get great musicians, everything else. But I saw this. She did something for us last night. She created a work of art. It was so incredible. I said, "Could you come and do it again?" Right, John? And she was a hit. Did you notice? I said, "No, let them stand on the floor." Not one person left the floor. You notice that, John, right? He's the one putting on this big shindig tonight. It's going to be amazing tonight. And you're invited to stay with us, Vanessa, okay? All right, we're at 2 million 5. Anybody else? Going once? 2 million 750. Who is it? Oh, I know who that guy is. He's got plenty of games. Vanessa, you don't want to know about some of these guys. 2 million 750. Do I hear a 3 million?
Yeah.
Do I hear 3 million? It's going to St. Jude's. It's going to the sheriff's office. Sheriff's department. Huh? Yes, who, what? Yes? Yes? Don't do it if it's too much. Don't do it if we have to see a chapter filing tomorrow morning. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our outstanding pop preachers had a file for chapter. He'd been too much. So we have 2 million. We have 2 million 750. Do we have anything else? Any other bid? I want to thank you. Come on up on the stage. Come on up here. Come on up. I think you made a good deal, actually. Come on up. That's great. How about that? Did you ever sell one of your paintings for that? No? Whoa, look at this guy. This guy is good. He's a good man, a very successful guy, too. I want to thank you very much. That's a very nice outfit. I love this outfit. Thank you very much. It's actually even more beautiful up close. So you were just amazed by that. That's great. We thank you very much. And the charity thanks you very much. Thank you very much. You have a good time tonight. We appreciate it. Get this guy's number. She's got that's how many years? 6 years? Congratulations. It's a beautiful couple. Beautiful couple, right? Thank you, everybody, very much.
All right, right, thank you guys. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Hello, I'm HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill. I'm here with Assistant Secretary Alex Adams. Alex oversees the Administration for Children and Families. Intrepid journalists have made shocking and credible allegations of extensive fraud in Minnesota's child care programs. We believe the state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon millions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade.
My office, ACF, provides Minnesota $185 million in child care funds each year. That money should be helping 19,000 American children, including toddlers and infants. Any dollar stolen by fraudsters is stolen from those children. Yesterday, I spoke directly with the director of the Minnesota Child Care Services Office. She could not tell me with confidence whether those allegations of fraud are isolated or whether there's fraud stretching statewide.
Today, we have taken 3 direct actions against the blatant fraud that seems to be rampant in Minnesota. First, I have activated our Defend the Spend system for all ACF child care payments across America. Starting today, we require a justification, receipt, or photo evidence before we make a payment. Second, I have just signed and sent a demand letter to Governor Walz. I required a full 360 review of these centers. This includes attendance records, licenses, complaints, investigations, and inspections.
And third, we've launched a dedicated fraud reporting hotline and email address at childcare.gov. Whether you're a parent, a provider, a member of the public, we want to hear from you. Let me be crystal clear. ACF expects every state to uphold the highest standards of oversight, monitoring, and accountability for federal dollars. Minnesota is no exception.
We're committed to holding bad actors accountable. Regardless of rank or office, anyone who's involved in perpetrating this fraud against the American people should expect to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The story of Kennedy and Trump has changed the course of history forever. August 23, 2024 will forever be known as the day we turned the corner and took back our great nation and changed the course of history and brought hope to a free world. Join me as we relive the strange relationship between Kennedy and Trump leading to their return to the White House to make America healthy and great again. I spent 2 years following the Kennedy and Trump campaigns. Long before the two men ever considered running for president, Kennedy sued Trump and stopped him from building a golf course near the Hudson River. After Trump won the presidency in 2016, he recruited Kennedy to look into vaccine safety issues. Kennedy was forced out the door after clashing with a man by the name of Anthony Fauci. But the assassination attempt on President Trump's life brought Kennedy and Trump closer than ever. From rivals to collaborators, from foes to friends, this is the story of Kennedy and Trump. You can download the book for free right now by going to kennedy&trump.com. That's kennedy&trump.com. My name is Greg Fernandez Jr. God bless you all.